Initially, the House Democrats were expected to vote on the bipartisan bill. Nancy Pelosi told us last week that she was bringing the bill to the House floor on Monday, regardless to what people think. And then, late on Sunday night, Pelosi put out a message that she is postponing the vote until Thursday. That was a response to the information received from Representative Premier J. Paul. She noted that within her 96-member caucus, they just don't have enough votes for this bill to pass. So, after careful thinking, Nancy Pelosi postponed the vote until later this week. Now, I'm not sure how much that's going to help the Democrats out. Perhaps they are working on a master plan in order to get the $1.2 trillion bipartisan bill passed in the House, which is this bill was already passed in the Senate. Now, in addition to that, Congress brought the debt ceiling issue to the floor on Monday in an attempt to vote on the increase of the debt limit to ultimately prevent the government from shutting down. And shocking enough, the vote failed to pass. Right now, the Democrats are in a pretty interesting position with very little options to turn to. So, will House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer be able to complete what they promised the American people? Or will both of these bills end up failing and causing more catastrophic damage to this country? The push for Biden's Build Back Better agenda is not looking too well right now, guys. The Republicans pretty much have them in a corner with not many options to turn to. The future of another stimulus package is looking dimmer every day, but the Democrats have a lot to get done this week in order to save this country from a government shutdown, as well as the country defaulting on its obligations. Anyways, guys, hey, those are just some of the topics that we are going to cover today. Now, if this is your first time to the channel, hey, welcome and glad to have you. On this channel, we talk about finance, real estate, credit cards, Bitcoin and crypto, and stimulus update news. So, if you're interested in any of those, go ahead and hit the subscribe button for me. That way you can join our community. Also, if you end up liking the content in this video or even laughing at one of my jokes, then be sure to like this video. Other than that, guys, hey, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. Okay, guys, the shocking news that just came out Monday evening in Washington. The GOP, or the Senate Republicans, have blocked the attempt to raise the debt limit and to provide more government funding. Senate Republicans blocked a measure to fund the government and to suspend the debt ceiling. The vote in Washington happened late on Monday night, and the vote tally was 48 to 50. 60 votes were needed to advance the measure to prevent a government shutdown, but no Republicans actually voted for this bill. Not one single Republican. This is another failed case for the Biden administration, as things getting pretty bad for President Biden right now. This is what Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer had to say about the failed attempt.
Everyone understands exactly what has happened here on the Senate floor. The Republican Party has now become the party of default, the party that says America doesn't pay its debts. Our country is staring down the barrel of two totally Republican-manufactured disasters, a government shutdown and a first-ever default on the national debt. The impacts of both would gravely harm every single American in this country. Republicans would let the country default for the first time in history. A few moments ago, the Senate had an opportunity to begin solving these problems right away. Democrats did their part and voted yes. But Senate Republicans, meanwhile, voted to drive our country straight towards a government shutdown and the first default in our country's history. Let me be clear. What the Republicans in the Senate did tonight is not normal. This isn't your typical Washington fracas, and it shouldn't be treated as such. It has far more severe consequences than the typical political catfight. Republicans know the consequences of their obstruction. They know a default would likely create a recession. They know that middle-class families will suffer immensely. They've heard the same warnings that we have. And by many calculations, the Republican default will raise the deficit by more than the American Rescue Plan. And yet, Republicans still obstruct it tonight. It's one of the most reckless, one of the most irresponsible votes I have seen taking place in the Senate. And it should send a signal to every family, small business, market watcher, about who in this chamber is in favor of endangering the economic stability of our country and who isn't. Let me repeat, the Republican Party has solidified itself as the party of default, and it will be the American people who pay the price. Social Security checks, Medicare benefits, veterans benefits, small business, all this and more are now on the chopping block because Senate Republicans are playing games with the full faith and credit of the United States. Now, despite Republican intransigence, this matter cannot be set aside for even a moment. Before the vote, I changed my vote from yes to no in order to reserve the option of additional action on the House-passed legislation. Keeping the government open and preventing a default is vital to our country's future, and we'll be taking further action to prevent this from happening this week.
The House Democrats have a very short time period in order to make something happen on multiple fronts this week. And as of now, it doesn't appear as if the Democratic leaders know what their next steps were going to be. But they continue to be very positive and vowing that they will not allow a shutdown to happen on their watch. Now, Democrats have been knowing for months that this debt limit was coming up soon, in which Republicans have been warning them for months that they will not be helping the Democrats raise or suspend the debt ceiling, even though the Democrats voted with Republicans during the Trump administration to suspend the debt ceiling as part of the larger stimulus packages. And now that the Democrats have majority, the GOP want no part in the process, regardless of what happened in the past. And the GOP is willing for the American people to have a government shutdown and to lapse on paying their obligations as the first time in American history. Now, obviously, that would play right into the hands of the GOP once 2022 comes around. Now, even though the U.S. has never defaulted on its promises, something similar to this happened back in 2011, which caused the United States to lose its long-term standing of a AAA credit rating. The GOP is currently being led right now by Mitch McConnell, where he has been secretly telling lawmakers to vote against this bill. And that's exactly what happened on Monday night. 48 people voted in favor of it and 50 people voted against it. Chuck Schumer blasted the GOP and called them unhinged, saying that they are deliberately sabotaging our country's ability to pay the bills and likely causing the country's first ever default in American history. And as a result, 64 House Democrats sent a letter to Mitch McConnell on Monday, arguing that Republicans are risking the country's economic recovery exactly right after the U.S. took a massive hit last year when businesses closed down restrictions. The Democratic lawmakers wrote, "Holding the debt limit hostage is dangerous, illogical, and irresponsible way to express your concerns." But of course, Mitch McConnell did not respond to this letter as of yet. McConnell and other GOP leaders want the Democrats to increase the debt limit within the $3.5 trillion infrastructure package, which is going to make it even harder for the Democrats to do that, as they are already facing hiccups and pushback over the social spending bill, as well as the price tag of that bill. Adding that the debt limit to the bill could increase its price tag above $3.5 trillion, or could cause the Democrats to lower the amount of money originally projected. Right now, the U.S. is on track to default on the national debt between October the 15th and November the 4th if Congress is unable to raise that federal debt ceiling. Now, the Democrats are in major trouble right now, and it doesn't appear that Senator Joe Manchin or Senator Christine Sinema plan to rescue their party anytime soon. If they don't figure this thing out by September the 30th, the government will shut down at midnight, and we will have a default, which would be the first time in American history. But tell me, guys, what do you guys think about all of this? Do you guys think that it will end up extending the debt limit before September the 30th? Or do you think that the government will face a shutdown where millions of struggling Americans will face uncertainty? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. I'm curious to see what you guys think about all of this that is happening right now. In other news, Mitch McConnell announced on Monday that he received the booster shot. He said it was an easy decision for him, which McConnell said he got the third shot after seeing President Biden receive his third booster shot on live TV at the White House. And speaking of President Biden, it appears that he is being accused of moving goalposts on the percentages of Americans that's needed to get. Senator Ted Cruz is accusing the president of moving goalposts after the president hinted to reporters reporters that up to 98% of Americans may need to be against before we return back to normal. This is because Biden was asked by a reporter about how many Americans need for us to get back to normal. And Biden responded with 97%, 98%. I think we'll get awful close, but I'm not the scientist. I think one thing is for certain, that a quarter of the country can't go and us not to continue to have problems, which is different from what Dr. Anthony Fauci said back in December of 2020, where the top experts said that the number should be between 75 and 80%. Personally, I would agree with President Biden that he might be moving those goalposts, as these types of answers continue to change every day. No one really knows how long we'll be here, and the percentage of how many people need is a dynamic number, which continues to change. But obviously that percentage can't be static, guys. Cases continue to surge every day, and new strains continue to show up. So how can one person know the magic number of a percentage of Americans that need to be in order to get back to normalcy, and expect that number not to change? But I get it, guys. You have to call president out whenever it is possible. It's fair game whenever you're speaking on the president. In other news, dozens of Massachusetts state troopers resigned on Monday. This is in response to the mandate. The State Police Association made an announcement that state troopers had intentions of moving to departments that offered reasonable alternatives, such as wearing a mask and regular testing. And last week, a judge ruled that mandate would not be delayed in the state of Massachusetts, despite a request from the State Police Association of Massachusetts. Also, there have been a large number of deaths over the past 18 months, but to add to injury, the life expectancy of American men fell by 2 years. According to a new study by Oxford University, the study found that life expectancy among men fell by 2.2 years since 2019. This is the largest drop among the groups that were observed. One of the lead authors said that the fact that our results highlighted such a large impact that is directly attributable to shows how devastating it has been for many countries. The CDC responded and said that the life expectancy from 78.8 years old in 2019 to 77.3 years old in 2020 was largely driven by COVID. Well, considering I fit that description of American men, I guess I will be leaving Earth a little bit sooner than I anticipated. But until then, guys, hey, I will be Budget Bill on YouTube forever. Anyways, guys, hey, my time is up for today. This has been another 4th Stimulus Check update for today. Now, if you enjoy any of this information or found it to be useful, be sure to hit the like button for us. It definitely helps out a lot, and it also tells YouTube to share this video with others. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button for me so that you can be a part of this community, and hit the notification bell to be notified of each new video. Again, as always, hey, I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.